Imagine a 17-year-old teenager sitting in a courtroom surrounded by police officers, judges, and families shattered by his actions. He's there, but he doesn't tremble. He doesn't cry. He smiles. A fixed, unsettling smile, almost proud. It's this smile that will forever haunt those who were present that day. The smile of Michael Swanson. He was sitting there in that silent courtroom, surrounded by lawyers, police officers, and weeping families, but he was smiling. A cold, almost mocking smile. No fear, no regret, not a trace of emotion in his eyes. Michael Swanson, 17 years old, just a teenager, but with an empty stare and a grin that sent chills down your spine. It wasn't a nervous smile, it wasn't an innocent smile. It was the smile of a young man who wanted to be feared, who wanted to be admired for having killed. That day, everyone in the courtroom had the same question on their mind. How could a boy so young be so unfeeling, so calm after destroying lives? It wasn't an accident, not an uncontrollable impulse. No, Michael Swanson knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted to make history. He wanted his name to be remembered. Not for an achievement, not for an act of courage, but for fear. He dreamed of becoming a crime figure. A gangster like in the movies. He had stolen a weapon, planned his route, targeted his victims, and shot them in the head without hesitation. And now, instead of crying or asking for forgiveness, he laughed. He wore that smile like a signature. That smile summed it all up. He wasn't a broken or lost teenager. He was a young man who thought he was at the height of his glory, intoxicated by the blood he had spilled. And in that courtroom, while the family suffered, while justice tried to understand, Michael Swanson, for his part, savored his moment. Because in his eyes, this trial was his stage. It all began in November 2010. Michael Swanson was still just a 17-year-old teenager living in Minnesota. But in his mind, a morbid plan was already taking shape. This wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment decision. It was a carefully thought-out plan. He stole his own mother's car, gathered a ski mask, stolen money, a duffel bag, and most importantly, a .40 caliber pistol. A powerful weapon stolen from a family cabin. He leaves the state, crosses the border into Iowa with a single idea in mind, to make a name for himself by spreading fear. His plan: rob small businesses, shoot anyone who gets in his way, and become famous. He isn't after money, he's after terror. That same night, he enters 2 gas stations, one in Humboldt and one in Algona. Each time the scenario is the same. He enters with his face covered. He points his weapon at the cashier. He demands the money. The women comply. They don't scream. They don't resist. They do everything he asks. And despite that, he shoots. The first victim's name is Sheila Myers. She is 61 years old. She is a mother, a wife, a woman loved in her community. She was working late that night, alone in the shop. Michael killed her without the slightest hesitation. The second, Vicki Bowman Hall, was 47 years old. She was known for her kindness and gentleness. She too was working alone. She too begged. She too was coldly gunned down. Prosecutors would later say that these crimes were unjustifiable, cruel, and fully conscious. There had been no struggle, no threat, just the will to kill, to leave a mark, to satisfy a fantasy. And while blood was being spilled in those 2 small Iowa towns, Michael Swanson continued on his way, not hiding, without remorse, as if all of this was simply part of his plan. The night is cold. Silence reigns in the small town, still shocked by the murders. But he continues on his way, as if nothing had happened. Michael Swanson does not hide. He doesn't even run away. He calmly drives the car he stole, listens to music, as if he were just coming back from an ordinary night out. But deep down, he knows. He knows they're looking for him, and he doesn't care. It's a gas station about 100 kilometers from the first murder that will mark the end of his spree. He goes in, still carrying the weapon with him. The cashier looks at him, wary. Michael is young, very young, but there's something strange about him, something unsettling. A calm, almost supernatural. He asks for a drink, then leaves. But this time, one detail does not go unnoticed. The manager has heard about the attacks. He calls the police. A few minutes later, a patrol car spots the stolen vehicle. Michael is inside. He doesn't try to escape. He doesn't shoot. He doesn't even try to defend himself. He lets himself be arrested. The officers are surprised. No panic. No commotion. He raises his hands, gets out slowly, and smiles. Still that same chilling smile, as if he were mocking them, as if he were saying, "You're finally here. I got what I wanted." In the vehicle, they find the weapon. They also find ammunition and a notebook. A notebook with cold, almost mechanical notes, which clearly show that nothing was left to chance. Michael had planned, calculated, anticipated. He knew exactly where he was going. He knew what he wanted to do, and he wanted people to know it. During the interrogation, he remains stoic. No emotion, no remorse. He explains the facts with a disturbing precision, almost as if he were telling a simple anecdote. When asked why, he replies with a sentence that will remain etched in the investigator's memories. "I wanted to know what it felt like to kill." A chill runs through the room. He is not a monster. He is not an adult hardened by hatred. He is a teenager with a youthful face, a calm voice, and no conscience. The indifference he displays toward his actions is unbearable. He has no fear of the consequences, no compassion for the families, and no regret for the lives he has taken. That day, the police officers realize they are not dealing with a lost boy, but with someone who has chosen evil, deliberately, coldly. And that smile, once again, will never leave their minds. The courtroom is packed. Journalists, victims' families, onlookers, lawyers. All eyes are on him. Michael Swanson enters the courtroom. He is only 17 years old. He is handcuffed, silent, unflinching. He walks forward with a calm, almost relaxed step. And what chills the room is not his age. It's that smile, that frozen smile on his face. An empty, disconnected smile. He looks at the families in front of him, and he doesn't know. The judge opens the proceedings. The charges are serious. Double homicide, armed robbery, attempted escape, premeditation. But it is the coldness of the facts that will shock America, because this trial will not be a mere judicial formality. It will be a live dissection of a deranged mind. The prosecutor begins. He lays out the facts, the bullets fired into their backs, the stolen car, the lack of motive, but above all, the precision. Michael did not shoot at random. He aimed, he followed his targets, he chose the moment. It was a game, an experiment, a search for sensations. The courtroom holds its breath. The moment comes when Michael must speak. He stands up and speaks calmly in a monotone voice. And what he says chills everyone. "I wasn't angry, I wasn't sad. I just wanted to see what it felt like. I was curious." Mothers burst into tears. Families cover their faces. But he just stands there, unshaken. The psychiatric experts are called to the stand. Their reports are unanimous. Michael Swanson suffers from severe mental disorders, but he is fully aware of his actions. He is neither insane nor lost. He is cold, calculating, and completely devoid of empathy. A psychologist will even say this chilling sentence: "He doesn't kill out of hatred, he kills out of an absence of feeling. The emptiness inside him is absolute." The surveillance videos are shown. You can see Michael entering the station. He looks at his victim, calmly takes out his weapon, fires, then leaves as if nothing happened. Some in the audience avert their eyes, others cry. But Michael, for his part, stares at the screen, and for a second, he smiles again. The prosecutor seizes this moment. You have just seen what evil is. Not a fictional monster, not an uncontrollable beast. No, a teenager who appears normal, but whose mind is twisted to its core. This trial will not be the trial of adolescence. It will be the trial of indifference, of the absence of a soul. And on that day, no one will leave unscathed. The trial is coming to an end. The courtroom is silent. The room is tense, as if suspended in time. Everyone is waiting for this moment, the verdict. After days of chilling testimonies, disturbing psychiatric analyses, and unbearable images, the American justice system is about to deliver its decision regarding a 17-year-old accused of killing two innocent people, without motive, without remorse. Michael Swanson is there, standing in the dock. He does not tremble. He looks at the judge, arms crossed. His face is expressionless, as if he were attending a mere formality. The judge begins to read, "Michael Jason Swanson, because of your age at the time of the events, you will not be tried as an adult." A murmur rises in the courtroom. Glances are exchanged. Sighs can be heard. Heads turn. Some already understand. The sentence will not match the gravity of the acts. The judge continues. Michael is found guilty of both murders, armed robbery, and illegal possession of firearms, but he will be sentenced to only 25 years in prison with the possibility of early release. 25 years for 2 lives taken, for senseless violence, without remorse. And in the courtroom, outrage erupts. A mother shouts, My daughter was 27 years old. She deserved better than a killer who smiles in the dock. A father stands up, trembling, his eyes filled with tears. 25 years? He'll be out at 42. My daughter, on the other hand, will never come back. The judge tries to restore order, but nothing works. The courtroom turns into a scene of emotional chaos. The journalists film everything, the broken faces, the clenched fists, the overwhelmed looks. And in the midst of it all, Michael Swanson, still calm, still motionless. Some say he even smiled when the verdict was announced. The judge, visibly shaken, justifies herself. The law requires us to judge according to the age at the time of the events. Even if the severity is extreme, he is still a minor. But for the families, this isn't a law, it's a betrayal. In the days that follow, social media erupts. Michael Swanson's name becomes a symbol of judicial failure. Hashtags like "Justice for Vicky" and "No More 25 Years" flood Twitter. Some politicians are calling for a reform of the system. Others defend the verdict, arguing that the law protects young offenders. But in public opinion, a certainty takes hold. This boy was never just an ordinary teenager, and this justice did not live up to the monstrosity of the crime. One might have thought that once he was locked up, the horror would end there, that prison would put an end to this nightmare. But no, because even behind bars, Will never stopped existing like a poison. Silent, yet active. From the moment he arrived at the juvenile detention center, he made no effort to keep a low profile. On the contrary, he fascinates, he attracts, he manipulates. Very quickly, other young inmates start to gravitate around him as if he were some kind of spiritual leader. He speaks to them calmly, sometimes with a smile, but always with that strange glint in his eyes, that total absence of remorse. An educator would later testify, he never spoke about his crimes with any emotion. He described them as if he were recounting a movie he had enjoyed. But what is most disturbing is what he starts to write. Pages and pages of notebooks found under his bed. Imaginary stories, but chilling ones. Stories of torture, of mind control, of murders described in absurd detail. Emotionless sentences, cold descriptions, and always the same underlying theme. The pleasure of controlling, of making others suffer, and of escaping morality. The most troubling part is that some guards caught him advising other youths on how to scare people, how to lie without getting caught, or even how to kill without leaving any traces. Will never apologized, never expressed any genuine remorse. On the contrary, when psychologists came to question him, he told them a phrase that became famous in the psychiatric report. "I'm not crazy. It's you who live in a world where you've been taught to be ashamed of your nature. I embrace mine." The specialists tried to diagnose him, to figure him out, but the truth remained elusive. Too young for some analytical tools, too intelligent for others. He played with the boundaries, as if he knew he still had power, even without freedom. And meanwhile, the families of the victims continued to suffer. While Will was writing, thinking, and planning, behind every number, every newspaper headline, every trial, there was immense pain. A shattered life. For Sheila Myers, a loving mother and devoted wife, life stopped that night at that Iowa gas station. For her daughter, she isn't just another victim among many. "She's my best friend, the one who was always there, my anchor." She recounts, her voice trembling, "Seeing Michael Swanson smile in that courtroom while we were mourning my mother, it was like a second wound, as if they wanted to remind us that our pain didn't matter." For Vicky Bowman Hall's family, it's the same. A warm woman, known for her kindness, taken too soon, struck down by a senseless and cruel act. Her husband confides, "That smile he wore like a challenge, it doesn't go away. He didn't understand that it was a life, not a game." These families live with this constant absence, this emptiness that nothing can fill. Every birthday, every holiday becomes a painful reminder. The memory of these women does not fade. It is etched in memories, in hearts, in the community. Michael Swanson, for his part, chose violence to make a name for himself. But he did not become a legend. He became a symbol of coldness, inhumanity, and endless pain. Today, behind bars, he remains a disturbing presence. But for those who have lost a loved one, it is much more than that. It is an open wound, an injury that does not heal. And for all of us, spectators of this true story, it is a call to never forget, to remember that behind every crime, there are lives, families, and stories. If this story moved you, consider subscribing so you don't miss other accounts that reveal the truth behind the news. Share your thoughts in the comments. In your opinion, what can be done to better protect victims and prevent such tragedies from happening again? Thank you for watching. See you soon for a new video.